I just want to give like the fast facts. Karen Read is facing second-degree murder charges and the possibility of life in prison for the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. She pleaded not guilty to allegedly ramming him with her Lexus SUV and leaving him to die in a snowstorm following a drunken argument. The judge declared a mistrial after jurors weren't unable to reach a verdict last year.
To continue to deliberate would be futile. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Where are we at with the trial right now?
I mean, it's more serious this time. The jurors seem to be having a lot of reactions to especially Trooper Buchanan.
I'm sorry, English is like a third language for me, so if you can bring up the Webster's Dictionary.
It's ridiculous. They're trying to prove that like the cuts on John's arm came from a taillight.
Lines up with the approximate location of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Do you think there's a chance that Karen Read would ever take the stand?
I've asked her. She would like to.
Do you feel like the defense is going to feel like they need to say, she didn't do it, but someone else did? What does it mean if there's another mistrial or hung jury? Is she off?
$1 million question.
Aiden, Turtleboy, thank you so much for joining me again on Misunderstood. I really appreciate your time. We just completed the 22nd day of the Karen Read trial, the second time around. Can you kind of fill us in on where we are on essentially day 23?
We are right towards the end of the prosecution's case, the Commonwealth's case. I believe this is their last witness. It's the crash reconstruction expert, Judd Welcher is the guy's name. It's very different from last trial. Last trial, a state police detective named Joseph Paul did what this guy's doing right now, and he was a complete disaster. So that's why they gave him the hook. This trial has not been as entertaining. It's not been as many like fun because none of the McAlberts have been called. Like besides Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, Julie Albert, Chris Albert, Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, Tristan Morris, Michael Proctor, and Joseph Paul, Brian Tully. None of them have been called. So those were some of the most controversial and interesting witnesses from the last trial. All of them liars. But they haven't been called. I just feel like this trial has been less focused on the Commonwealth is not trying to get ahead of the conspiracy, this trial, as much as they are attempting to prove Karen hit John with her car while she was drunk. And I ultimately, I think it's having the same effect and it's just not working.
You do. Okay. So here's what I want to understand. I think originally, and tell me if I'm wrong, they made it seem like they were accusing Karen of outright murder. And this was a, open and shut case. Now it seems like all they're trying to do is really make a direct correlation between her car hitting John O'Keefe and the fact that he died. I mean, they're spending a lot of time on making that correlation with all the witnesses that they have now as opposed to last time. Do you see that they're doing a good job of showing that happened? Because then you can draw the conclusion that whether or not she killed him on purpose isn't the answer to the question. It's just that happened and that could have then essentially killed him.
I mean, you have their witnesses are saying it happened. At least Shannon Burgess and Judd Welcher have both said that they believe that she backed up at this time at 12:32, that she accelerated to however, I don't even think he knows how many miles per hour. It's kind of all over the place. And how many feet, he doesn't really know. Sometimes it's 87 feet, but he also said it could be within 87 feet. So if you believe their witnesses, then yeah, I guess they are making the case for that. But these witnesses have been ripped apart for their credibility. Like Shannon Burgess lied about being a college graduate multiple times. And he last time he attended the University of Alabama, Birmingham, which he lists himself as a graduate of, was 2008. And he says he's still working on his degree there. It's been 17 years, since he was first enrolled at UAB, and he still hasn't graduated. At some point you become a college dropout. So if you believe that guy, then yeah, Karen Read could be in a little bit of trouble. But I think ultimately the defense has done a great job of pointing out that these guys are not believable, and wait till you see who we have, because they haven't even begun.
So, but let's get back to that for 1 second. Obviously, that was a total mess. That guy's credibility, just because he's coming on as an expert witness and he hasn't even graduated from college, seems like incredibly dumb of the prosecution. And the witness that we're going through now is kind of dispelling all those things, right? He's trying to have a more credible conversation piece to go off of, right?
Yeah, that's what the witness now is doing. That's right.
Right.
So, well,
and do you think that they're doing a good job? I mean, the people that are sitting on the jury, do you think they're following this, or do you think they've walked into this with as much of a idea about what's going on that anyone else has?
well, in order to get on the jury, you have to, swear that you haven't followed the trial. I mean, that's one of the first questions that came up is like, I was in there for jury selection, and they would ask the pool of jurors every day, raise your hand if you've heard of this trial, and like over 90% every day would raise their hand. Raise your hand if you have an opinion about the trial, and like 50% will raise their hand. Raise your hand if you have a bias about this, and like a quarter would raise their hand. So, theoretically, they're supposed to have weeded those people out. I don't think you'll ever find a jury that no one's ever heard of this before. Like, I find that hard to believe, but you want to believe that you have found 18 people who are being honest and that they've never heard of this case before, or not never heard of this case before, but they haven't followed it as closely as others.
Right. They don't have an opinion like yours, let's say. But this is where I'm going to with this, because do you think, in listening to the evidence, and let's pretend you were, a jury member, could you listen to the evidence and be open to the fact of like, oh, let me hear this. Okay, that kind of makes sense. I get that. Or do you just feel like there's no way that they're going to find anyone that can be open to listening to evidence and make a new conclusion now this time around?
No, you can absolutely find people that are, I would assume so, that these people are all open to evidence and that they're just hearing it all play out. I mean, you would think that the jury seems to be attentive and they're taking notes. And, I think the facts of this case kind of explain themselves.
Right.
Definitely a lot of the shock has been taken out of this one, because you don't have Michael Proctor up there reading his, disgusting text messages out loud. So that has been taken away. And you don't have Brian Albert explaining why he never came out of his house. And you don't have Brian Higgins explaining, why he got rid of his phone, the day before a preservation order was put in place, and why he destroyed his SIM card and threw it in an army base. So yeah, I mean, you don't have that. So that was just like that got a lot of jurors' eyes rolling. Now, I haven't been in the courtroom in like a month, so I haven't seen any of the jurors' reactions to it. But from what I've seen from other journalists inside the courtroom, they seem to be taking it. The jurors seem to be like having a lot of reactions to, especially Trooper Buchanan, because he was outrageous and just defiant and evasive and not being honest. That's how he came across to the jury. So a lot of them were rolling their eyes, making faces. So I think it's natural. Like, this case is so outrageous that it's going to provoke reactions like that. Maybe not amongst everyone, but amongst some people. And for that reason, they'll never convict her.
So, and then for people listening that don't know, Michael Proctor is somebody who was the prosecution's sort of lead witness, right? And
Lead
now
detective.
is not on it, because since then he has been fired because of his conduct on this case.
That's right.
I mean, that seems incredibly strong. Is the defense going to bring that up?
Oh yeah.
Are they going to call him as a witness, do you think? Can he even be subpoenaed?
That's the $1 million question.
To watch the full uncut interview, including details we couldn't show here, head to our Patreon.